What if you walked into work tomorrow and your boss told you that today was your last day? What if your income completely flatlined by 5 p.m., but your rent, your car payment, and your grocery bills didn't? Over 800,000 Americans have already had to answer that exact question this year. And guys, it's only June. Everyone is blaming inflation, interest rates, and a massive economic shift. And yes, tariff-driven inflation is jacking up the cost of everyday goods across the board. And yes, American consumers are drowning in over $18 trillion of total debt. And on top of all that, the government just confirmed that Social Security's trust fund will be completely drained by 2032. So it makes perfect sense why everyone is terrified right now. But here is the secret that the financial media refuses to tell you. The wealthy aren't panicking. They aren't losing sleep over 2026. Because they know an economic crash is only a disaster if your life is built on a single paycheck. What if losing your job tomorrow didn't actually threaten your family at all? What if you could build a hidden financial fortress, where your bills are automatically paid and your net worth actually grows while everyone else is panicking? You don't need to be a millionaire to do it. You just need the exact same 5-layer system they use. The people who run this system will exit this economy much richer than they entered it. Give me the next 18 minutes and I'll give you the entire blueprint. What's up, guys? I'm Mason. And this channel exists because the system is broken. And somebody needs to show you how to build real wealth inside it anyway. In the last few episodes, we talked about the money traps keeping you broke on a good salary, what actually happens when you hit 50K in savings, why budgeting is basically a scam, and the exact habits wealthy retirees leave behind. But today, we're going way deeper than that. Today, I'm giving you the complete 5-step financial system that high-net-worth individuals are running right now, custom-built for the economy we're facing in 2026. Listen, half of YouTube right now is faceless AI channels trying to sell you the dream of getting rich quick with zero effort. That's not us. We run on real strategy and real math. No fake promises, no BS motivational filler. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, let's kill a massive myth. Building a recession-proof financial system has absolutely nothing to do with predicting when the crash happens. Let's be real. No economist, no hedge fund bro, and no algorithm has ever been able to time that consistently. Ever. What wealthy people actually do is build a layered architecture. 5 distinct layers, with each one engineered to take the hit from a very specific financial threat. Layer 1 protects your immediate survival if your paycheck vanishes tomorrow. Layer 2 stops the silent bleeding that's draining wealth out of your house every single month. Layer 3 guarantees your income never fully hits zero, no matter what your boss decides. Layer 4 keeps your investments compounding, right through the turbulence, instead of getting wiped out. And Layer 5 completely replaces the government retirement check that, mathematically, you're probably never going to get in full. Put them together and this 5-layer system doesn't just survive a downturn. It actually comes out the other side stronger than it went in. Here's exactly how each layer works, down to the exact dollar. Starting with the foundation, Phase 1 is what I call the cash floor. And honestly, most people have built this in a way that's guaranteed to fail them right when they need it most. You've probably been told to save 3 to 6 months of expenses as an emergency fund, right? It's the right idea, but that range is wildly outdated. And in 2026, outdated means dangerous. Here's what changes the math completely. That old 3 to 6 month rule was designed for a job market where it took an average of maybe 4 months to find a new gig. But right now, Americans believe they only have about a 43% chance of finding a new job if they lose their current one. That is a historic low, which means that 3-month floor? It's not a floor anymore. It's a trap door. Let's run the actual math on what your cash floor needs to look like today. Start with your bare-bones survival expenses, not your fun money. Just rent, utilities, groceries, minimum debt payments, insurance, and getting to work. For the average American household, that survival number sits right around $3,200 a month. Now, multiply that by 8 months, not 6. Your new cash floor target, $25,600. But here's where almost everyone makes a massive structural mistake. They park that cash in a regular checking or savings account earning, what, 0.4% APY? Guys, that's not a cash floor. That's a slowly melting ice cube. Right now, the best high-yield savings accounts are paying over 4%. Let's put those side by side. 25 grand in a standard savings account earns you about $100 a year. That exact same money in a high-yield account earns you over $1,000. That's a $900 difference every single year just for clicking a few buttons and moving your money. Over 5 years, the high-yield account makes you over $5,000 in pure interest. The standard account? Barely $500. People are literally leaving thousands of dollars on the table simply because they're too lazy to switch banks. That's not just a cute optimization trick. That is a structural leak in your financial house. Now, the cash floor has one golden rule that most people break within the first year. It is untouchable, period. Unless it's a genuine hair-on-fire emergency. It's not for a vacation. It's not for a down payment on a Tesla. It's not for a flash sale. The second you raid your cash floor for something that isn't an emergency, you've removed the only airbag standing between your family and a total financial wipeout. So phase 1, build the floor, put it in the right account, and pretend it doesn't exist. Because here's the brutal truth. Without phase 1 locked in, every other layer we're about to build is built on sand. If you get laid off and you don't have a cash floor, you don't just lose your income. You're forced to liquidate your investments at the worst possible time, at the worst possible prices, and you'll probably trigger a massive tax bill while you're at it. Back in 2008, investors who didn't have an emergency fund were forced to sell at the absolute bottom, locking in permanent losses of up to 55%. But the investors who had a cash floor? They never touched their portfolios. They recovered fully in 3 years and just kept compounding. The cash floor isn't just basic advice. It's the prerequisite for everything else. All right, phase 2 is the debt elimination stack. And I'm about to show you a number that should honestly make you mad. American consumers are currently carrying over $18 trillion in total debt. That isn't just a statistic. That is a massive wealth transfer, moving straight from your pocket to the banks every single month. The average credit card interest rate right now is hovering around 25%. Remember how we just said the best high-yield savings accounts pay 4%? Here's the brutal math. For every single dollar your savings earns you, your credit card debt is burning $5 to $6 in interest. You literally cannot outinvest credit card debt. The math just does not work. So phase 2 has one clear directive. Wipe out all high-interest debt before you invest a single extra dime beyond your employer 401k match. We're going to use the debt avalanche method. Write down every debt you have, the balance, the minimum payment, and the interest rate. Pay the bare minimum on everything. Then take every single extra dollar you can find and throw it like a grenade at the debt with the highest interest rate. The second that debt is dead, take that entire monthly payment and roll it onto the next highest rate. It's a snowball effect, but optimized for math. Let's look at a real-world example. Say you have a $4,000 credit card at 24%, a $2,000 card at 19%, and an $8,000 car loan at 7%. Your minimums are eating up about $320 a month. If you only pay the minimums, that first credit card alone will take 11 years to pay off and cost you an extra $3,500 in pure interest. But let's say you hustle, cut some expenses, and free up an extra $200 a month to throw at that first card using the avalanche method. That card is gone in 15 months. Total interest paid? $460, not $3,500. You just put $3,000 back in your pocket just by being strategic. Now you take that entire $500 payment and crush card number 2. Card 2 is gone in 6 months. Now you have over $700 a month attacking the car loan. You're completely debt-free in about 2.5 years. Total interest saved? Almost $7,000. That is money that was legally scheduled to leave your life forever, and you just claimed it back. And here's the kicker. Debt doesn't just cost you money. In a bad economy, it's a weapon used against you. When job cuts spike, and remember 800,000 people got cut this year already, the households that go bankrupt are the ones carrying 24% APRs with zero cash buffer. You miss one payment, then 2, your credit tanks. And suddenly, every financial move you make for the next 7 years becomes catastrophically expensive. Debt is a structural vulnerability. Phase 2 closes it before the storm hits. Phase 3 is the income insurance layer. And this is what separates the people who are terrified of a recession from the people who barely even notice it. Look at how most Americans set up their income. They treat it like a single water pipe. One boss, one paycheck, one guy in a boardroom who can shut the whole thing off without warning. In 2026, setting up your life like that isn't just risky, it's reckless. Over 800,000 cuts in 6 months. A massive plunge in job-finding confidence. People are literally staying in miserable jobs out of pure fear. But getting income insurance doesn't mean you have to quit your job and go full Gary V startup mode. It just means building one extra stream of revenue, even a small one, that pays you directly, bypassing your employer entirely. I call this the one skill, one stream framework. Pick one skill you already have. Writing, graphic design, data entry, fixing stuff, coding, consulting, anything people pay for. Then, build one side stream from that skill that makes you at least $500 a month. Give yourself 90 days to do it. 500 isn't a random number. Watch this math. 500 bucks a month is 6 grand a year. If you look at the standard 4% safe withdrawal rate, generating 6 grand a year in side income is the exact financial equivalent of having an extra 150 grand invested in the stock market. Let that sink in. A simple $500 side hustle produces the exact same cash flow as a $150,000 portfolio. The difference? You can start the side hustle this weekend. The portfolio takes a decade to build. Now let's run the worst-case scenario with this layer turned on. Your day job pays 5 grand a month. Your side hustle pays 750. You get laid off. Instead of plunging from 5 grand to zero, your income drops to 750. And that's before unemployment even kicks in. You just reduced your financial emergency by like 80%. You still have cash flow. You can still buy groceries. You actually have time to find a good job, instead of taking the first desperate offer that comes your way. That is the power of Phase 3. It's not a cute side hustle. It's income architecture. Because here's the harsh reality. Every person who ever got laid off had one thing in common. They thought it wouldn't happen to them. Nobody wakes up on January 1st expecting to be part of an 800,000 person statistic. When single-income households lose that check, they don't just lose money. They lose leverage. Desperation makes you do dumb things, like cashing out your 401k and eating the massive penalty. Phase 3 takes desperation off the table entirely. Phase 4 is where the amateurs panic and where the pros actually generate generational wealth. When I say tariff-proof, I'm not talking about guessing what politicians are going to do next. Tariff-driven inflation is already here. Furniture, appliances, everyday goods, they're all jumping up in price. Big brands like Walmart and P&G are already signaling that things are getting more expensive. And when that happens, average investors usually make one of two massive mistakes. Mistake 1. They freak out, sell everything, and go to cash because the market feels shaky. Mistake 2. They freeze, stop investing their monthly cash, and wait for things to settle down. Spoiler alert, they never do. Both of these moves will cost you a fortune. The data is crystal clear. Let me show you a historical example that proves it. Back in October 2007, the S&P 500 was sitting pretty at almost 1,500 points. By March 2009, the dead bottom of the crash, it had plummeted to under 700, over a 50% haircut in less than 2 years. Investor A panicked at the bottom, sold everything, and permanently locked in those massive losses. Investor B? They just kept automatically buying 400 bucks a month, right through the bloodbath, buying cheaper and cheaper shares. By March 2012, Investor B had entirely recovered their portfolio and was actually making a profit. Investor A was still sitting in cash, waiting for the market to feel safe again, completely missing the biggest bull run in history. This happens every single time. Investors who just keep their automated contributions running recover more than twice as fast as the guys who try to time the market. Now, for 2026 specifically, there is one adjustment you should look at. You want to be careful about holding too much single stock exposure in sectors that get hammered by tariffs, like imported consumer tech or apparel. This is exactly why broad index funds, like the S&P 500, are basically a cheat code. They automatically spread your money across everything, including the domestic companies that actually benefit from tariffs. Index investing isn't just for beginners. It is a built-in shield against sector-specific landmines. You might also want to look into TIPS, Treasury Inflation-Protected Securities. Basically, when inflation goes up, the value of TIPS goes up with it. It's a really solid counterweight if you're worried about prices running hot for a while. Phase 4 is dead simple. Automate your investments. Buy the whole haystack. And don't flinch when the market throws a tantrum. Because the brutal truth is, market crashes do not destroy wealth. Human panic destroys wealth. Every share you sell during a dip is a share that can't pull you back up during the recovery. The S&P 500 has averaged over 10% a year since 1957. That includes wars, recessions, bubbles, and global shutdowns. The guys who captured those returns weren't fortune tellers. They just had the discipline not to sell. Phase 5 is the one that millennials and Gen Z are actively ignoring. And it's going to cost them big time. Here are the hard facts, straight from the government's own reports. Social Security's main trust fund is going to be completely empty by 2032. They've actually had to move that deadline closer twice in the last couple of years. When that fund hits zero, they can't just print more money for it. Federal law dictates they have to slash benefits to whatever the current tax revenue can cover. The projected cut, 24% across the board. If you're banking on 2 grand a month, say goodbye to over 500 bucks of it. For a retired couple, that's over 18 grand vanish from your budget every year. Forever. People love to debate this like it's politics. Guys, it's not politics. It's a math equation. Too many people taking money out, not enough working people putting money in. The system is fundamentally imbalanced and the clock is ticking. So, here's how you build your own. Phase 5 is the Social Security replacement stack. You are going to build your own pension that Congress can't touch. There are 3 specific moves in order. Move 1. Max out your 401k employer match. Do not pass go, do not do anything else until this is done. If your boss offers a match, that is literally free money. It is a guaranteed 100% return on your money the second it leaves your paycheck. Warren Buffett cannot get you a guaranteed 100% return. Take the free money. Move 2. Open a Roth IRA and try to max it out. $7,000 a year if you're under 50. Let me show you the Roth IRA math that should be framed on your wall. Say you're 30 years old. You put $500 a month into a Roth. That's $6,000 a year. Let's assume a modest 7% return. By the time you're 65, you're sitting on over $1.2 million. And because it's a Roth, every single penny of that is tax-free. You only put in about $200,000 of your own money. The market did the heavy lifting and added a cool million on top. You didn't clock in for that million, you built a system, and the system did the work. Move 3. Optimize your sequence. First, get the 401k match. Then, max the Roth IRA. Then, go back to the 401k and start pushing toward that $23,000 annual limit. That exact sequence gives you the best of both worlds. Free employer money and tax-free growth. But listen to me. Even if you can only scrape together $200 a month right now, start building the stack. $200 a month over 35 years still grows to nearly $340,000. That's not just a supplement. That is a replacement. You own it, you control it, and Washington can't vote to take it away from you. But the brutal reality of compound interest is this. Every year you wait, the math punishes you. A 30-year-old doing $500 a month gets to $1.2 million. If you wait until you're 40 to start that exact same plan, you only get to $600,000. Same monthly payment, same returns, but those 10 lost years literally cost you over $600,000. That is the price of procrastination. And with the Social Security deadline hitting in 2032, you only have 6 years left to get this moving. All right, here is your homework. 5 moves, 1 for each phase that you can knock out this week. Phase 1. Calculate your bare-bones survival budget, multiply it by 8, and move that cash into a high-yield savings account paying over 4%. Phase 2. Write down all your debts, rank them by interest rate, and throw an extra $50 at the worst one this Friday. Phase 3. Figure out one skill you can monetize online and set up a profile on a freelance site tonight. Phase 4. Log into your brokerage and double-check that your monthly index fund buys are set to automatic. Turn off the financial news. Phase 5. Check your HR portal tomorrow morning and make sure you're getting 100% of your 401k match. If you don't have a Roth IRA, spend the 15 minutes it takes to open one. 5 phases, 5 actions, 1 bulletproof system that works whether the market crashes tomorrow or goes on a 10-year bull run. If this breakdown changed how you look at your money, do me a favor and hit that like button. It takes 1 second, and it signals the algorithm to push this real math to people who are currently getting terrible advice. Episode 6 is already in the works. We're doing a deep dive into Phase 4 and exactly how to adjust your portfolio when inflation refuses to drop. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. It drops next Tuesday. And if you haven't seen Episode 4 yet, where we break down the 7 things wealthy retirees refuse to buy, click the video on screen right now. It ties perfectly into Phase 2. I'm Mason. See you in the next one.